Welcome everybody to a newest edition of One Man's Trash. We love bringing on guests. We've actually had some really good guests this last week. CJ from Todd Jones to the Birdman himself. It's been really fun. And today I get one of my teammates.
Yeah, not only do you get one of your teammates, man, but you didn't one-up me, you like five-up me, right? The two guys that I brought in have like an all-star game between them. Your guy's got a ton of all-star games under his belt, so it didn't take you long at all to show me up, digging that Rolodex, and bringing in a big-time player, man. But this was an awesome get for us, and I'm looking forward to it. All
right, so since I am Tommy Topper, let's bring in a teammate of mine for a couple years. He goes by the name of Big Daddy sometimes. It's Matt Holliday. Let's bring in Big Matt Holliday for this one. Where'd he go? Did you lose him?
I just tried to put him in, and he was gone.
Oh, we'll try again. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Hey!
All right, we got it figured out.
Yeah, we got this thing figured out. So, have you seen our show at all? Do you watch since you've been quarantined? I figured what better thing than to waste your time and watch something like this.
What channel is this on?
It's on YouTube.
You had enough.
I didn't know. If you'd have told me it existed, I might have watched it. Until you invited me on, I didn't know what this was.
Spilly's a terrible marketer, so we always try to find tie-ins. I'm a lot older than you are, so we didn't cross paths really. But the only thing I could find is that obviously you spent a little bit of time with the Yankees. I spent even less time with the Yankees, so I went with the old Yankee jersey. Spilly, I thought for sure it would be something Colorado. You threw me for a loop here.
No, so the reason why is I think Matt always knew that I was going to end up in Japan. And so I don't think he's ever seen my Japanese jerseys. So I thought
I'd show. If you wear the minor league version, though, right?
Oh, that's not nice.
Well, I thought you spent time in the minor leagues over there.
Oh, I spent more time in the minor leagues than I did in the big leagues. But
that's what I mean. So why don't you represent your majority time over there in Japan?
CJ can tell you that when you're in the minor leagues in Japan, you still wear a big league uniform. So.
That's correct.
There's a little perk.
But even their big league uniforms aren't that big league anyway, right? They're all kind of mesh. They have a little bit of a softball uni feel to them anyway.
Yeah, that's a good-looking jersey, Spilly. I like that.
All right. So what do you want to show us? What do you have for us today that you
jumping right into it? That's it? Just
yeah.
I mean, no hi, hello, how you been? That's pretty brutal, Spilly. It's just one of your guys, man. 15-year career, 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. I mean, you didn't even give him the proper introduction. MVP in the championship series, got a batting title under his belt.
All right.
I understand you guys are buddies, but you need to build him up the way he deserves to be built up. So I'll apologize for my co-host and that garbage introduction he just gave you. Deserves.
Yeah, I already talked to him once today, and so this is really pushing our limits here, twice in one day. But yeah, I have a few cool things, or I don't know what your goal is. You didn't really tell me. Again, I haven't seen the show, other than I have some old stuff. I have an old Larry Walker glove that he gave me when I was a rookie. And he's a Hall of Famer now. And so this old beauty is probably got a little more value to it.
So that was what, 2004, right? That was your rookie year?
2004. Look at the writing on it. It's nice.
That's
and you used that in big league games for a while.
I did, yeah, because I had a trapeze, and he grabbed my glove, and he took a ball and he put it in there and he shook it and it goes out the top of the trapeze. And he said, he's got your glove, it won't stay in there. Use this. And so he gave me this glove.
That is awesome, man. I mean, he always seems like from the outside, like a pretty incredible teammate, fun guy. Was he kind of the guy that took you under his wing a little bit when you first got there?
I was always really intimidated because he's got this big, loud bravado, and the voice, and you weren't really allowed to go in the weight room as a minor leaguer if the Metallica music was going, because that meant that Larry was doing his workout and it was loud and he didn't really want anybody in his way, especially in spring training. I don't know if Spilly shared with you, but we used to have a tent that they brought the weights from Coors Field down, and basically we had a circus tent that they put weights inside, and if you heard the loud Metallica music, it was pretty safe to say you need to stay clear of the tent. But he turned out to be an incredible teammate, amazing guy. He's one of my good friends. He was great about taking the young guys and making them feel comfortable. Unfortunately, he got traded that year in 2004, so we didn't even play a full year together. But he was always really good to me when I was in the minor leagues. And usually that's the sign, you know, I mean, when I can't do anything to help him or do anything for him, the way he treated me was still with respect and showed me a lot of things and was really helpful. So he is somebody that I still really enjoy talking to and every chance I get. I'm super excited that he got in the Hall of Fame. And man, I remember watching him and as far as a 5-tool player, when he was healthy, he was one of the greats in the history of the game.
I'm going to have to make sure, since I am your friend and since I do a very poor job of introducing my friends, I'm going to get you a SpongeBob shirt. So when Cooperstown comes a calling for Larry and he has that, I'd like you to be able to at least have a SpongeBob shirt while you're watching it.
He's been out of the spotlight for so long, and then he comes back in with that shirt. That was incredible. I don't know how many times I looked at that and thought, what is he wearing?
Yeah, but he got everybody talking about it. I mean, that was the thing, right? I mean, it was a little bit awkward, but it seemed like it spoke to his personality best.
Made a splash. Made me look twice.
It's all right, so I'll send you one. What else you got for us?
I got a Tulo glove that he gave to the boys, a Troy Tulowitzki old baseball glove that they haven't taken care of very well because he keeps giving them new ones. So we've got some Tulo gloves. We've got a couple of signed cleats. Manny Machado, the boys, Air Jordan, pretty cool.
Those are sweet.
Hey, hold on a second. I want to go back to the Tulo glove because I think what's really cool about what you're doing right now, you can see the Oklahoma State, all the stuff that you're wearing. Your brother has been coaching at Oklahoma State now for a couple years, and you've been serving as an assistant coach there. And Tulo, you saw a couple weeks ago because he's coaching at the University of Texas. What does that mean when you see a teammate of yours, especially like that high of stature, to know that you guys are teammates, that you've done so many great things together, and now to the next step of, like, you guys are coaches, you guys are impacting future professional baseball players, future major leaguers, and really impacting some lives of men at the school that you're with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really fun, and we went down to Austin, right before this whole deal set in, kind of when they sent the kids home. It was kind of nasty weather here, so we drove down to Austin and spent a whole day with Tulo and just talking about kind of our experience so far in our first year of coaching college baseball and kind of what it looks like. And you know him, as soon as he figured out he wasn't going to play anymore, he turned his attention immediately to coaching. And he called me, and then he called my brother, and he was looking for a good spot that he could kind of get his college coaching career going. And he landed at Texas, which they're extremely lucky to have him. And you know him, he just turned the page and he's full bore into college coaching and just talking about some of the things he does with his hitters. And he's a great guy. And I think it's been really cool. Like you talked about the helping with the hitting and helping with, the coaching part of it's really neat. But I find, working with 18 to 22-year-olds and kind of watching them and where they're at in their life and how they're putting together, responsibilities and hard work and what it looks like to maybe take that next step as far as what it takes from a discipline standpoint and an extra work and trying to help them understand if those are their goals, which if you come to Oklahoma State, I would hope and think that your goals are to play professionally. What do the sacrifices look like that it will take to play at the next level? And, even from their personal life, getting to have them into your home. And, some of them are going through trying to figure out who they are as people, and they're doing things that they probably shouldn't. And letting them letting me into their lives and helping them and maybe serving them in ways that'll help them become men, husbands, fathers, citizens, just trying to help them grow up a little bit is really an appealing aspect of this to me that maybe you don't get as much in pro baseball. So I've enjoyed the first year. Obviously, it got cut short. Unfortunately, we were starting to play really well. I felt like it was a young team that had potential. So we'll get all those guys back, and it'll be really great. Hopefully, when we get this thing lifted and we can start to interact with those guys a little more. And this summer, hopefully, if they don't have the summer leagues, we'll at least be able to get them back on campus, maybe get them into some summer school, and we can kind of pick up where we kind of got left off. But it's been cool, and I think that he's really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of pro guys that are sort of taking this route because the travel isn't nearly what it is in pro baseball. You get a chance to be home most nights, but you still get that competitive baseball feel, accomplishing something, helping and passing along to young players maybe what we've got passed along to us. And I think that, that's the satisfying, appealing part is we were helped, and it's our turn to kind of pass it along, maybe at this level.
That's cool, man. Paying it forward. I mean, that's got to be outstanding for those kids. What kind of questions do you feel like you hear more about? Do they ask you big league stuff? Do they ask about the path, or is it just real specific to hitting?
It's kids, anywhere from who's the toughest pitcher you face, send me your best pimp job. It's all over the map. But a lot of them, they want to hear experiences, and they want to hear, your what was it like to win a World Series? What was it like playing with so-and-so? What was it like? They want to hear about those experiences. They always ask questions about hitting and things like that. But when you're just sitting around killing time, they want to hear those stories, those locker room stories. They want to hear, the kind of the inside stuff. Probably the stuff that we enjoyed the most as players, and the relationship part of it, and what was Troy Tulowitzki like as a person, what was being teammates with Nolan Arenado like, what was, playing with Larry Walker or all these guys, or what was, facing Kershaw like, things like that are the things that they're most, I think, intrigued by, at least, to this point.
Have you gotten used to the sound of metal bats hitting baseballs?
I hate it. Some of them are okay. Like some of the DeMarinis don't make that really high ping sound. Like the 2-piece that they're using now is not as obnoxious. But some of these 1-piece bats that they swing, it drives me nuts. Like I do not like it.
I feel bad for you. You got to wear earplugs. All right, let's get back to the Machado shoes, because I want to see those. Those look like they were autographed to Ethan.
They signed one shoe to each kid. So
he has 4 feet.
What's that?
Machado has 4 feet now.
One to each kid. Oh yeah, that's true. Just the older boys. Yeah, no, the younger kids don't really care for Manny Machado cleats. So yeah, the 2 older boys got into kind of collecting cleats later in my career. So I tried to get some of those that they liked. I got a few more. There's a Nolan one that he brought this last time. It's pretty sweet.
Wow.
Ethan actually wears these out taking ground balls.
Those shiny bottoms right there, those are sweet.
Yeah, those are sweet. This is a Carlos Correa Adidas shoe.
Man, you do have a lot of them.
Mike Trout here, a little personalized to Jackson Mike Trout piece right here.
That is amazing, man. So what got the kids on the spikes? I mean, obviously there's so many different ways to go between jerseys and all that other stuff.
I don't know. I think that guys, now they get all these personalized cleats and stuff, and kids these days, even me, I would prefer to have a cool, like, special cleat from a player than a ball or a bat or a jersey even that, I don't know. It's just something different to collect. I thought was kind of individual, kind of different, kind of something that people would enjoy. And then here's a giant one, CC's size 15.
Jeez.
Thick white Jordans.
Dang, those are sweet.
And did he sign those too?
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: so you talk about the boys and getting to see all these great players that either you're playing with or against, and that's so cool for them to be able to have those opportunities. What about when you were coming up, when you first broke in? You mentioned Larry Walker, getting a little bit of time with him, but were there any players that you admired when you first got to the big leagues that maybe were still around near the end of their careers?
It was fun to play against Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens and Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine. Like, kind of, they still had some good years in them, but they were kind of at the back end of their careers. But that was so cool for me because I had remembered them as kids being sort of the dominant players or pitchers of those times, and then I found myself facing them in the major leagues was pretty neat. I mean, there's endless guys, as you guys know, that were kind of older when you broke in, that all of a sudden you're playing against them and you're like, or how about Jeremy Burnitz? I got a chance to play with Jeremy Burnitz, who
great name.
I was a kid at Oklahoma State, or my dad was coaching at Oklahoma State. Jeremy was a player that I looked up to as a kid, that when my mom and dad would go to the movie, would come over and play wiffle ball with me and my brother, sort of babysitting us. And here I am as a teammate playing in the same outfield. We actually hit back-to-back home runs twice in one game in Cincinnati my rookie year, which was a really cool, man, this guy used to babysit me when I was a kid, and now we're hitting back-to-back home runs in the major leagues. So awesome. There's all kinds of those. As a baseball purist, I would consider all of us people that love the game and know the history and love the history of the game. And, even the guys for me, when I got traded over to the Cardinals, guys like Ozzie Smith. And I remember I have a picture signed by Stan Musial of me shaking his hand, and it's personalized to me. And the first day I got as a Cardinal in my locker, there's a ball that says, "To Matt, welcome to the Cardinals, Stan Musial."
What?
And so the history of that is Ozzie Smith's taking ground balls in spring training, and you got, Red Shandy's, it was like his 100th spring training. Literally, the guy had been to 75 spring trainings. And, just stuff like that where you're like, man, this is really cool. Tell me about a young Stan Musial or Mickey Mantle. Tell me about, some of these great all-timers. And you hear these stories from back, when that all you can ever find is highlight, just clips of. And so that kind of thing, to me, traveling around the league and seeing Sandy Koufax or, these great legends, or it's just, it was just really cool as a baseball purist that I got a chance to experience some of those things that seemed like a dream.
Matt, when you joined the Cardinals, you were always number 5, and obviously Pujols was wearing number 5. And being from Oklahoma and growing up in that area, and you mentioned Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle was the number 7 from that area. Was there a connection to that number? Is that part of the reason why you chose?
I was looking for a different number. 15 to me was Jim Edmonds, and they had some really good number 15s in the Cardinal history, and I felt like that was sort of their number, and I was just looking for kind of a number that might fit. And yes, Mickey Mantle. When I started looking at some single digits, that one kind of jumped off the page at me. That we were both from Oklahoma, and he was number 7, so it was a good fit. I wore it for 8 years or 7 years, I guess. The first year I wore 15, but yeah, I as you guys know, I'm a big baseball fan, and I wish I'd have got a chance to, the guys like that, the speed and the power and just crazy good.
Let me ask you too, because 7 would have been a pretty good quarterback number, and that was something that you were Gatorade Player of the Year for football. You were at least one of the top prospects in all of high school for college football. Could you imagine what that path would have even looked like? I mean, you talk about meeting just Hall of Famers and the charmed life that you've had as a baseball player. Have you ever let your mind wander of what could have happened as a football player?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a younger kid, especially when you're in the minor leagues and you're 0 for 15 and you're sleeping at a Best Western or a Motel 6 and you just ate Waffle House and you're wondering, what did I get myself into? I could be playing, football in front of 55,000 fans or on a Saturday and as a quarterback. And, I think it's one of those things where there was times when I wondered what that would have looked like, but it's one of those things where I don't know. I mean, I don't know how good I'd have been. I may have been a washed out, bad college quarterback that tried to get back into baseball. So
I don't know. I saw some 60-yard passes from that from that video I've seen. You got to send me the video so we can throw the highlights on here.
Yeah, I think it would have been fun to play college football, but I think there's, it worked out. But yeah, there was nights in the minor leagues where I thought, maybe I should probably head in the other direction.
You still got eligibility, right? I mean, it's still there, isn't it?
What's funny is our athletic director, he actually still is kind of serious. He comes to me, he's like, you still could play football. I'm like, I look at him like, I think you're serious when I look at your face.
Chris Winkie.
I would take one hit and I'd be like, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah. Take it to the house. Hey, how about for you? You mentioned some of the things. You showed us some things that guys gave you, like Larry Walker and the shoes for the boys. When you were going through certain milestones in your career, whether it be like first big league hit, first big league home run, maybe number 100, 200, 300. Were you ever interested in trying to get some of those items in the middle of your career? I know some guys get focused on it. Some guys are so locked into what's going on that they don't put a lot of thought into it. Where were you during your career?
Unfortunately, I have them. I'm just not sure where they are.
But you have them, so they did matter to you.
I did, yeah. I got them, and they did. The Cardinals and Rockies did a good job of making sure that if there was any sort of significant ball, that you got it. And then the trainers. I guess that's a prerequisite that a trainer knows how to like stitch really cool writing on a baseball. At least in my experience,
seems like it's a good point. Yeah.
The trainer would take the ball and make some sort of cool inscription on who you hit it off of and where it was and whatever the milestone might have been, and then it shows up in your locker in a plastic bag. And unfortunately, I would just take that plastic bag sort of home, and I'm not sure where all of them ended up. I think we still have all of them. At some point, I'd probably need to look for those if I would like to showcase them, but I've got a few of those things. I haven't done a good enough job of collecting them as I'll probably regret that.
That's all right. I mean, so I have one ball that I brought, and this one's prominently displayed in my house. It's the 2007 World Series ball that we were part of for second place. So I never had a chance to win a World Series like you did. But this group of guys right here, you start looking at the names, and you see a Josh Fogg, and you see Garrett Atkins and a Tulo and your name and Yorvi Torrealba. I mean, like, these balls, even though it carries significant value, it's the memory of it.
No, yeah, no doubt.
And I could only imagine what your Cardinals World Series baseball feels and looks like to you when you start seeing Schumacher's name and a Waino and a Carpenter on that thing. It's got to be. There's no way to put a value on that for you.
Yeah, I think even the ring, like, I never wear that ring. Like, where in the world would I wear a giant ring with, you know what I mean? Like, it quickly fades. Like, when you get the ring that day, you're like, oh man, this is awesome. And then it goes into like a safe place. And then every now and then you get somebody that says, hey, can I see your ring? Oh yeah, I'll go get it. But you don't wear it. It's not, it's the memories and the stories. And like, I have the painting right over there that the guy in Houston does of all the World Championship paintings, and you get a copy or buy a copy, whatever. And I have it right over there, and it's got a cool, and you start looking at faces, and you can almost tie a story or a memory of that year to almost every one of the faces. And those are the things that, like, you find yourself like, oh man, remember when so-and-so did this, or remember that story in the bus, with Gerald Laird, or remember that story, when Nick Punto had his pants torn off on the bus, like stuff like that, where you're like, that's the stuff that you miss, that you remember, that you're like, man, that was so fun. That was such exciting times. I remember getting to tell you and Tulo or whoever had the worst game that night that they didn't get to eat spread. I had a rule where the worst player on the team didn't get to eat. And unfortunately, Spilly got pretty skinny that year, but stuff like that, those are the memories, like, that I know I miss as a player. I mean, you can, all the cool stuff is sort of a representation of the memories.
So when you talk about those playoff teams, I mean, obviously you played a ton of playoff games, but winning a World Series, is there something when you look at that 2011 team and say, this is why we won, this was different than those other teams that I was on? You sit there and you track like some of the World Series winners. I mean, even last year, you think about the Nationals, how they almost lost that wild card game, right? That ball kind of took a little bit of a weird hop on Trent Grisham, 3-run score, they win that wild card, then they go on to win the whole thing. They very easily could have lost that game. Is there anything special when you look back at a World Series team, or is there those couple of breaks that go your way?
I think there's always got to be those breaks. I think that every World Series team, probably even pennant-winning team, has a story of, wow, if this wouldn't have worked out this way, it would have been a lot different, or we wouldn't have even got into the playoffs. I mean, that Cardinal team in 2011, we were dead and buried. I mean, people had just, written us off, and we had a veteran team of guys that just kind of held it together and knew we could get hot. We had enough talent that if we put everything together, at some point we were going to get hot and get the momentum going. I remember the Game 5 against the Phillies. You got Carp and Holliday going at it, and I think Skip gets an RBI double or triple in the first inning, and that run holds up. And, just things that bounced your way or, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I think ultimately all those teams, the tight-knit group, that you're able to hold it together when you have adversity during the season, because when it's such a long season, every team is going to be tested. You can either, throw it in the towel and mail it in, or you can battle and grind and take every day. And I think, you give a lot of credit to a guy like Tony La Russa, who we all trusted and felt like he gave us the right message and would not let us relent. And I think that, somebody like that, when you watch the intensity and just, you give him credit for helping keep us really focused, even when things didn't look like they were going our way. So I think the common denominator is in every big league championship team is that they overcame adversity, they got a few breaks, and ultimately found themselves at the top of the mountain.
Matty, you got one more thing to share with us? You got one more thing that you have hiding over there? Otherwise, you'll just have to send us some pictures of those things over there.
Yeah, we'd love to see that picture. Was that Opie, the guy in Houston who made that for you?
Yeah, I can turn this a little. I don't know if you can see it way over there. But,
yeah, we'll have you send us a picture of it. Okay. The house looks great. I love the new furniture, by the way.
What?
I love the new furniture.
It's not new. New to you, maybe.
So now that you've had to talk to Spilly twice in one day, you exceeded your quota. Is it like June, July before the next time you'll take a call from him or even answer a text?
You know what? During quarantine time, I'm going to let my allotment go a little bit, just because, I don't have a whole lot going on. Uh-huh. I think we even texted yesterday, so this is a lot in like 2 days. With, we had put me on this text log with a bunch of the old dried up Rockies, and it's. Still some good banter, you just never forget the inside jokes that about guys that's at a whole nother level than the typical workplace.
That's awesome, man. Hey, last one real quick for me. So, he often talks about how he felt like he didn't get the playing time that he deserved when he was in Colorado. He always said something about playing over Cargo. He deserved to play over him. Would you agree with that? Is that accurate?
No, that's terrible. He's lucky he got what he got.
Great point, Matt. So
I always told him if he played more than 1 or 2 days in a row, he was getting overexposed.
It was true.
He was more of a, you just find the right fit for him, and he was excellent. But you throw him out there, it's one of those things like you're like, well, I think he could play a little more, and then you try it, and you're like, nah, he's better in small doses. Yeah, exactly. Better in small doses. A 15-year major league career. Ended up hitting 299. Matt, it was always great having you on. Point that out. Appreciate it. Remember when you hit 300 that one year? No. Oh, that's right. You hit 299. I had to throw that out. Thanks for paying attention, everybody.